So I've just come back from shooting the first in a series of short documentaries that I want to put out every 2 to 3 weeks on YouTube. I wanted to show black people in a positive light because just yesterday I took my son to the park and this woman was clenching her bag like as if I was gonna, grab her bag and run off. This sort of thing happens to me every day. And what I don't want is for my son to go through the same thing with his son in years to come. Now, I fully understand that we have challenges in our community, but I think you'll find those same challenges up and down the country. And the kids that are in those communities, I want them to be able to watch these documentaries and feel inspired and understand that regardless of where you're from, you can achieve. So please do like, subscribe, and I really hope you enjoy.
My name is Shina Animashaun, and I'm a barrister. I remember writing about the UN, about war criminals, and it was a pipe dream. Me being idealistic that one day, maybe I could be involved or write essays about things like this. Never did I think that I'd actually end up doing. I was working at the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. I was prosecuting war criminals. I was prosecuting spies, advising the government on when and when they shouldn't deport people. But it wasn't a wish list. And to be able to have done it, it's been amazing. This is where I grew up. This is Pembury Estate. We're in Hackney, specifically Clapton. Here 15, 17 years of my life. Growing up here had its good and its bad days. You had peak periods where you had the London Rights just right there. In terms of the good that was going on in this area, you would have just a diverse culture in the area. I grew up with people of Bangladeshi heritage, Caribbean heritage, Western African. You pick up so much of their culture and their slangs. And then that's manifested in things like the Hackney Festival. So there was many beautiful things about growing up around here in terms of the culture and the spirit of the area. You very much felt the community. On one occasion, I stepped outside my house to go to the off-licence shop, and a bunch of guys, I kid you not, it looked like an army, like 40 guys on bikes, not from my area, covered up, balaclavas, and face masks, baseball bats, and they pulled up right in front of my house. And someone must have said, "No, not him, he's cool." And then they kept on moving. That guy, he stopped and said, "No, not him." That guy potentially saved my life because there are numerous stories, if you read a local newspaper, sometimes national newspapers at the time, on my road, the road beside it, in this estate, there are a number of boys who looked like me, who are my age, went to my school or went to local schools, who had been stabbed, sometimes shot, not for being involved, but just living in the area, just mere presence. I could have been one of those stories in a newspaper, one of those, he wasn't involved in any gangs, look at him in his suit, or here's a photo of him on his MySpace page in a New Era cap, he might have been a troublemaker. I certainly could have been a line on a newspaper headline. Early on in my training, when I walked into court with a senior member of my chambers, one of the court staff said, sorry, excuse me, you need to go in the dock. The judge went red-faced, and he said, no, he's not the defendant. But it said something really, didn't it? It said something about how they view, how we look, where we come from. Navigating, going through a career in the bar, one thing I've noticed is that we go in there, these areas and spaces, with a certain level of discomfort, because often you feel like you're the only one who looks and sounds like you. Hopefully there's a point where you don't have to be a trailblazer anymore. Hopefully there is a point when you walk through these spaces, people can recognise that, you know what, a barrister sounds like someone who comes from a range of spaces, not just these traditional backgrounds. Or you walk into a law firm and in terms of articulating yourself, it's all right for you to sound the way you do and have that twang in your voice in the way you do. That's the problem with a lot of these spaces. I don't think necessarily we should have to change at all. I think obviously there's space for just having your wits about you and knowing what to say when and where, but there should be enough spectrum and nuance allowed in these spaces about character and culture. You shouldn't have to fit this mold and not bring your true self to it. In my area, I didn't see your doctors, your lawyers, your engineers. That wasn't something that's close in proximity to us. But people who I grew up around, my mum, friends' parents, they would encourage me to aspire outside of the stereotypes or the box people put me in. So yeah, the people around me assisted me and gave me strength. In hindsight, looking back at the things I got involved in, I would just say dream big. Living in Hackney, living in my estate, we didn't limit ourselves. We sat by the computers, looked at images, Google images of all sorts of things people were involved in. And I would say just set a goal and just keep knocking at it. And that's essentially what I did. I thought about the UN, I thought about being a barrister, I thought about working in the arts, and I just kept on knocking at that door, and I didn't let anything be a limit. I just was being childlike in my approach in terms of wishful thinking, and kept on working hard at it, and then I ended up here. So I would say dream big, try it, keep going hard. It becomes like destiny. You keep going at it, and hopefully opportunity, luck and a blessing comes through and you achieve what you need to achieve. The best thing about being a barrister for me is the people I encounter through my job. I encounter people who grew up in other parts of the UK from me, different cultural backgrounds from me, and just being able to sit down and speak to them about their life and try and help them articulate that to a court. It's enriched me. It's really like satisfied my mind in various ways, and it's like reading a book, and just the ability to then help them and just see the look on their face where they feel like you've made a contribution. It's priceless. I really, really think it's important that there are barristers, young barristers from similar backgrounds to myself, similar socio-economic backgrounds, cultural, or even a variety not like myself, but not traditionally the bar, to come through, because it needs to be representative of the people we stand for, the people we articulate their thoughts and their feelings and their concerns towards judges or magistrates. It's really important because sometimes you'll have a young person who sits in front of you who doesn't feel like the court system represents who they are, or they don't see themselves in it, and they won't feel like they can communicate with you because you don't understand where they come from. It's in those moments where myself or people who can relate to them and understand those cultural nuances or the language they speak, it's that boundary that when I stand up before a judge or a magistrate, I can communicate that. And hopefully 10 to 15 years down the line and further, there will be judges, there will be QCs, there will be senior people working within the criminal justice system who will be able to be in positions of authority and speak on the issues that these groups are facing and really, really understand it. I can't wait for that.